Which PGA Tour player said, "I hate what LIV is doing to the game of golf. I hate it. I really do. Like it's going to be hard for me to stomach going to Wentworth in a couple of weeks' time and seeing 18 of them there. It just doesn't sit right with me." Hint, he is the chairman of the Players Advisory Council. If you guessed Rory McIlroy, you are correct. In this episode of Big Boy Pants Golf, we're going to get into the back and forth regarding the LIV players playing in this week's BMW PGA Championship, the European Tour's, now DP World Tour's, flagship event, even though as per the official World Golf Rankings changes, the European Tour no longer has a flagship event. Keith Pelley and the DP World Tour have chosen not to take the high road, with the fact that 18 and now 17 LIV Tour players are going to be in the field. Martin Kaymer dropped out because of certain things that the DP Tour has enacted that may make the LIV golfers feel unwelcome. LIV golf players asked not to wear logos can skip Pro-Am at BMW PGA Championship, according to this article by Michael Collins and Mark Schlabach from ESPN. Interestingly, Michael Collins has been fairly outspoken against Tiger Woods, along with Stephen A. Smith, in a recent segment on ESPN. I wonder what his take is going to be on the treatment of the LIV players in this tournament, because the DP World Tour is certainly going out of their way to make these players feel unwanted, including stating that they won't be in any televised pairings. All I want for Christmas this year is for one of these LIV golfers to win this event. Please, baby Jesus, make this happen. Reading from the memo, it says, "We would kindly ask you to consider not wearing LIV golf branded apparel during your participation at Wentworth." It does seem fairly heavy-handed, doesn't it? And for some people, they may think, wow, Keith Pelley, the CEO of the DP World Tour, is really taking a stand for his principles and values and doesn't want to get involved with this whole Saudi-backed league. But you know, Big Boy Pants Golf has done a little bit of that old research. Dig, Google. And I got something special for you today. This is from the website Scotsman.com. LIV Golf DP World Tour Chief Keith Pelley hits out at Saudis over detrimental circuit. It's from the 28th of June, 2022. Keith Pelley, the DP World Tour Chief Executive, strongly hit out at the Saudi Arabian moneymen at the heart of golf being ripped apart as he finally broke his silence on the game's hot topic. There's Keith Pelley wearing his super fashionable glasses. If you read up on him, he's got a lot of these glasses. It's a poor investment. They're definitely going to depreciate. A week after PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan had described Saudi-backed LIV Golf as an irrational threat, Pelley delivered an equally damning assessment of the breakaway circuit. And then the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour talk about their new 13-year partnership. Wonderful. Addressing the Saudi issue for the first time, Pelley, who had earlier delivered the same message to his members at a players' meeting at Mount Juliet, venue for this week's Horizon Irish Open, said, "In July of 2021, in Malta, we viewed an unsolicited presentation from P54, the marketing agent representing Golf Saudi. In our September board meeting that year, we showed the details of that presentation to the board. After discussion, in our assessment, we realized the numbers were less compelling than Rain Capital and the PGL proposal we turned down 9 months earlier. So they considered it. No moral issues at all. The numbers weren't right. So he reviewed the numbers. You have to trust myself and the board that materially, this was not a good deal for the European Tour and its members. We have had no further conversation with them since last summer. I was not at Centurion, venue for the inaugural LIV Golf event 3 weeks ago. I was in Sweden. We have been totally focused, and the complexity of two members' organizations coming together has required a tremendous amount of resolve, unwavering commitment, and work with our respective teams. That has been our primary and our only focus, and I'm proud of where we've gotten to today." He was asked about minutes from that Malta meeting which had been circulated in recent months, suggesting that he was going to undertake the attempt to broker a meeting between Yasser Al-Rumayyan, governor of the Kingdom of Saudi Public Investment Fund, and Monahan, and that over 10 years, the financial injection at the DP World Tour could reach $1 billion. Who is Yasser Al-Rumayyan? What is his net worth? Oil and finance chief who led Saudi takeover. Yasser Al-Rumayyan was born in 1970. In 2015, he became managing director of the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund, and a year later he joined the board of the Saudi's state oil company Aramco. His PIF group is believed to be worth around 260 billion pounds, which is almost 300 billion US dollars. We never received a formal written offer from Gulf Saudi, insisted Pelley. We brought Gulf Saudi into the game in 2019. On the 2nd of October 2018, Jamal Khashoggi was assassinated by agents of the Saudi government at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, Turkey. Shortly thereafter, we had conversations about how they could get involved in other aspects of our game, and including the Challenge Tour, which is something they turned down. The European Tour, now the DP World Tour, actively was working out some kind of negotiations with Gulf Saudi. Also, remember this part where Keith Pelley was going to undertake the attempt to broker a meeting between Yasser Al-Rumayyan, governor of the Kingdom of Saudi Public Investment Fund, and Monahan. So when they're negotiating some kind of deal, then it's not an irrational threat, as Monahan refers to the Saudi money or the Saudi entities. And here's the heart of the matter. It leaves me perplexed when they talk about their aspiration to grow the game. Yet nobody really can explain to me how that works. And I would have thought that our Challenge Tour feeder tour into the DP World Tour would have been a perfect avenue. Unless the Saudis want to invest their money into the European Corn Ferry Tour, which is like the Corn Ferry of the Corn Ferry Tour, which is way down there. That's one way they would accept it as growing the game. But if you don't do or invest as Keith Pelley and Jay Monahan want, there's no way you can grow the game. Here's why Greg Norman keeps saying that the LIV Golf Tour has been formed to operate within the current golf ecosystem. And this is Keith Pelley. Unfortunately, Gulf Saudi has elected to play outside the ecosystem. They play inside the ecosystem in Formula One, they play inside the ecosystem in Premier League football, and as they do in women's golf. And I'm a board member of the LET. I've been consistent that if in the fact they are interested to play inside the ecosystem and not launch a rival tour that I think is detrimental to the game at large, then I personally, from DP World's perspective, would be open, and they know that, to having a conversation. No issues, no objections to the Saudi money, not really an irrational threat. It's only now a threat to the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour because they want to do their own system, not operate within how the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour want the Saudi money and the Saudis to operate. But I'm not interested, and that's why there has been no conversation since the summer of 2021, because they are convinced and they seem compelled to play outside the ecosystem as opposed to inside. I got it. I understand you guys have a monopoly. You want them to play ball. They don't, so you smear them. There's no true principle or moral high ground against Saudi money. You can see here, totally down with it as long as it would have fed into the DP World Tour's Challenge Tour. This is also interesting. As part of the new joint venture, the PGA Tour will increase its existing stake in European Tour productions from 15% to 40%. Some more focus on the media rights, keeping them for yourselves, making money off the players' backs and their images. Just something to think about that. I looked this up yesterday. The Corn Ferry Tour Championship total purse money in 2022 is $1 million. In 2008, it was also $1 million. So if you account for inflation, these guys coming off the Corn Ferry Tour now in 2022 are making significantly less than the guys who were coming off the Corn Ferry Tour Final Championship in 2008. Shameful. What brought me to this eureka moment was when I read about Sergio Garcia, Ian Poulter, and Lee Westwood, three of the heavies in terms of influence on European golf over the last 15, 20 years, they went over to speak with that weasel Keith Pelley in person. And then somehow I got on the subject matter of Sergio Garcia getting disqualified from a European Tour event in 2019 in Saudi Arabia. I didn't realize in 2019 that the Saudi International was hosted by the European Tour. That struck me as curious, that the DP World Tour would ever try to hold some kind of moral high ground, or that the PGA Tour also would try to say something about this Saudi Arabian money. As you can see from the article before, they were completely willing to work with the Saudi Arabian money as long as it was put into their system like they wanted it to be invested. And the PGA Tour has no qualms about dealing, because they have a strategic alliance now with the DP World Tour, even though the DP World Tour in 2019 was hosting events in Saudi Arabia. I can't believe I didn't realize this before. Someone in the comments section needs to jump in there, because I know a lot of you know more than I do, and you're holding out. Stop holding out. Get in the comments section and tell me what you know, so I don't red pill myself at 4 in the afternoon and then feel compelled to make a video.
And former world number 2, Phil Mickelson, has called that a progressive format. Progressive, though, isn't the word often used about Saudi Arabia, as its critics point out.
What we're talking about here are severe, extensive, persistent human rights abuses in Saudi Arabia.
And one of it
Did no one tell Keith Pelley of the DP World Tour this?
is being offered to golfers. It's not an offer to some Saudis. The US government says there are credible reports of forced disappearances, torture by government agents, executions for non-violent offences. It also notes that women continue to face discrimination and that there is arbitrary arrest and detention.
Again, in 2019, the DP World Tour held an event in Saudi Arabia.
This is the killing of the Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. In 2018, he walked into the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. He was then murdered, his body was dismembered, his remains have never been located.
And a year later, the DP World Tour holds an event in Saudi Arabia.
And in the view of the Washington Post, what we're seeing is a government trying to use golf to cleanse its global reputation.
2019, DP World Tour.
And the BBC's Dan Rowan tried to raise these concerns with the governor of the Saudi Investment Fund.
It's the big thing in golf, and we're going to enjoy it. That's why.
This is the Yasser Al-Rumayyan, whose company is worth $300 billion.
If Saudi Arabia want to use the game of golf as a way for them to get to where they want to be, and they have the resources to accelerate that experience, I think we're proud to help them.
You already helped them in 2019. Did 2019 and 2020 not occur? Where are the press conferences where DP World Tour players at that time are getting grilled?
How can we go forward when those who ordered the murder are still unpunished?
Keith Pelley from the DP World Tour had no issue holding a tournament in Saudi Arabia the year following Jamal Khashoggi's killing.
Knowing all of this, why would I even consider it here?
It was already considered and done by the DP World Tour.
I don't condone human rights violations at all. I don't think nobody here does.
Keith Pelley was apparently okay with it, to the point that he was trying to broker a deal with the Saudis and the PGA Tour.
Professional golf is effectively a pyramid, and at the very top of that pyramid are two main tours, the European Tour, which is now known as the DP World Tour, and the PGA Tour. Basically,
Well, maybe before it was like that. Now, obviously, the top two tours are the LIV Golf Tour and the PGA Tour, with the DP World Tour being a feeder tour into the PGA Tour, as they're going to lose their top 10 members to the PGA Tour every year.
This is my job. I do this for money, and it's not the only reason for doing it,
And Keith Pelley had no issues with the Saudi Arabian money as long as it was invested the way he wanted it invested and the dollar amount was sufficient. So likewise, Keith Pelley does things based around money as well, because you can see the figures he was getting from the PFL before were higher, so he didn't consider the Saudi Arabian money.
Here's Ian Carter again.
pro golfers like to think of themselves as independent contractors.
Because they are independent contractors.
Reality is that if they are playing on a tour, they have obligations to it. And if they want to play for a rival, well, they have to apply for a waiver.
That's interesting you brought this up, Mr. Bean, because back a few years ago, when Rory couldn't play in the Irish Open and would have to play more European Tour events, they worked out a solution for him just for good old special Rory, so that he could keep his European Tour membership, because if your European Tour membership lapses at any point, you can't be a captain. So they figured out a little old workaround for a unique special golden boy Rory. You can look it up.
Exactly what they did when LIV Golf came calling and the tours said no.
Well, they said no because the Saudi Arabian money didn't go into their tours like they wanted it to. They only wanted the Saudi Arabian money to feed into their Challenger Tour. Sad.
If Vladimir Putin had a tournament, would you play that?
Why wasn't Keith Pelley raked over the coals like this in 2019? Why has the media kind of selectively forgotten about that and given the European Tour a pass? Why are all the other sports that are getting the Saudi money also given a pass? These are just questions that should be asked, and I'm asking them now.
In its human rights record, that choice unavoidably has a political dimension.
Yes, I agree. The BBC sucks. This guy has no emotion. How did he get a job where he's literally Botoxed out of his mind or something and can only speak like a robot? I'm looking forward to Sergio Garcia showing up on the first tee in a golf shirt that says, I was DQ'd from an event on the European Golf Tour in 2019 in Saudi Arabia. Let's make this happen, Sergio Garcia. I'm expecting tomorrow morning to wake up and see a golf article that Keith Pelley has forbidden the DP World Tour players to sign the yearbooks of the LIV golfers.